Once there lived a man named Abram, who had a wife named Sarai. God called Abram to leave his family and his country and go to a place that God would show them. Then God made a promise to Abram. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you. I'll make your name famous. In you, all the families of the earth will be blessed. Abram set out and came to the land of Canaan. The Lord appeared to him and said, To your descendants I will give this land. Abram and Sarai believed in God's promise. However, they were very old and unable to have children. God promised them many descendants, but they didn't even have one child yet. God repeated his promise to Abram and spoke to him again. Look towards the heaven and count the stars. If you are able to count them, so shall your descendants be. After being in the land of Canaan for 10 years, Abram's wife Sarah decided that she would help God out with his promise. She gave her maid Hagar to Abram as a wife and told him to have a child with Hagar. Hagar did have a son, and he was named Ishmael. But God repeated his promise and told Abram he would have a son with Sarai. He made an agreement with Abram, called a covenant, and he changed their names to Abram and Sarah. When Abraham was 100 years old and Sarah was 90, they had a baby boy named Isaac. God fulfilled his promise. Isaac was the child that God had promised Abraham so many years ago when he set out from his own land to the land of Canaan. When Isaac was a young lad, God tested Abraham. He said, Take your son, your only son, whom you love, and offer him as a burnt offering on one of the mountains. Abraham rose early the next morning and split wood for the burnt offering. He had Isaac carry the wood up the mountain. Isaac asked his father, Father, here's the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? God will provide for himself the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. Abraham built the altar, arranged the wood, bound his son, and lay him on the altar. He stretched out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. An angel of the Lord called to him from heaven and said, Abraham, do not stretch out your hand against the lad, for now I know that you fear the Lord, since you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. Then Abraham raised his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him was a ram caught by his horns in some bushes. Abraham took the ram and offered it up for a burnt offering in the place of his son. Abraham's name means the father of many nations, and his name did become famous. We still talk about him over 4,000 years later. God promised a son to Abraham, and like Abraham, God allowed his son, his only son, who he loved, to carry the wood in the form of a cross up a mountain, to become a sacrifice for the sins of the world.